Greetings. This is Brother Eli with another episode of Bible Truth Revealed. Today's teaching is entitled The Antichrist Revealed. That is, the Antichrist Revealed. Many people have been brainwashed into believing that the Antichrist will arise and wreak havoc on the world in the latter days. This couldn't be further from the truth. In this teaching, I will explore the passages in the New Testament that use the term Antichrist. Afterwards, I will reveal the true identity of the Antichrist according to the Holy Scriptures, which Christians call the Old Testament. In doing so, I will answer the following questions. 1. Who is the Antichrist according to the New Testament? And 2. Who is the Antichrist according to the Holy Scriptures or Old Testament? The New World Encyclopedia has an article entitled Antichrist, which sheds much light on this issue. As such, I will quote extensively from this article in this teaching. Question 1. Who is the Antichrist according to the New Testament? In the New World Encyclopedia, under the heading Antichrist, quote 1 says this: In Christian eschatology, which means the way that Christians understand the latter days, the Antichrist or Antichrist is a powerful evil leader who will arise in the last days in opposition to God and His church. So this is in Christian eschatology. If you are not a Christian, there's no need to believe Christian eschatology. There's no reason to believe that a powerful evil leader will arise in the last days in opposition to God and the Christian church. It continues. From its New Testament origins, this doctrine of the Antichrist comes from New Testament origins. If you do not believe in the New Testament, there's no reason to believe in the Antichrist of Christianity, because this Antichrist, this powerful evil leader who will arise in the last days in opposition to God and the Christian church, comes from Christian eschatology based on the New Testament. It's a Christian concept. Again, from its New Testament origins, as a description of teachers who denied orthodox teachings concerning Jesus, the term Antichrist attached itself to other biblical characterizations about a leader who would arise in the last days to control the world and lead humankind away from God. So originally, when the term Antichrist was used, it had nothing to do with what most people imagine is the Antichrist today. Under the subheading New Testament, quote 2 reads thus: The words Antichrist and Antichrists appear in only 4 verses in the Bible. So in the entire Bible, there are only 4 verses that use the words Antichrist and Antichrists in the epistles 1 John and 2 John. So again, if you are not a Christian, which means that you do not subscribe to the New Testament, then this Antichrist or Antichrist figure is irrelevant to you. It's a Christian doctrine that originates in the Christian New Testament. It continues. In these verses, the term does not refer to a single powerful evil leader, but to false teachers who deny certain teachings about Christ. And this is referring to the Christian understanding of Christ. Now let's carefully examine these 4 verses in the Christian New Testament that speak of Antichrist or Antichrists. 1 John chapter 2 verse 18 says, "Dear children, this is the last hour. And as you have heard that the Antichrist is coming, even now many Antichrists have come. This is how we know it is the last hour." According to this false claim, the arrival of many, not one, Antichrists is evidence that this is the last hour. In other words, the end has come. So the person that wrote this foolishness was saying that when many people come who deny our beliefs about Jesus, that's how we will know that this is the last hour, that the end has come. It is believed that this was written 2,000 years ago, which proves that this is a false teaching. The problem that Christians have is that this nonsense claims that the end came when many people rose up and did not believe in the Christ of Christianity. But this is only one of the many lies in the Christian New Testament. For evidence of false prophecies in the so-called New Testament, please listen to my teaching entitled, "Is Revelation Happening Today?" That is Revelation happening today? The article continues with 1 John chapter 2 verse 22. This is the second part in the New Testament that speaks about Antichrist. It says, "Who is the liar? It is the man who denies that Jesus is the Christ. Such a man is the Antichrist. He denies the Father and the Son." According to this rubbish, every man that worships the Most High only is the Antichrist. Also, it claims that we deny the Father and the Son. This claim is demonstrably false because we, those who worship the Most High only, acknowledge and accept that the Most High, which is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, is our Father, and Israel, which is the nation of Israel, is his Son, which means that we do not deny the Father and the Son. I will read Exodus chapter 4, verses 22 to 23 in the Brenton Septuagint translation. Exodus chapter 4, verses 22 to 23 reads thus, "And thou shalt say to Pharaoh, These things saith the Lord, Israel is my firstborn." So the Most High, which is our Father, says that Israel, that's us, the children of Israel, is my firstborn. "And I said to thee, Send away my people, that they may serve me. Now, if thou wilt not send them away, see, I will slay thy firstborn son." Israel is the firstborn son of the Most High God. And the Most High said to Pharaoh, "If you do not let my people go, I will kill your firstborn Son. So we, the righteous remnant of Israel, believe in the Father, which is the Most High God, and the Son, which is the nation of Israel. Denying the false Christ of Christianity is a good thing, because it shows that we trust the words of the Most High over that of our Christian slave masters. The article in the New World Encyclopedia continues with 1 John chapter 4, verses 2 to 3. 1 John chapter 4, verses 2 to 3 says, "Every spirit that acknowledges that Jesus has come in the flesh is from God. But every spirit that does not acknowledge Jesus is not from God. This is the spirit of the Antichrist, which you have heard is coming, and even now is already in the world." Jesus, the Christian God-man, is nothing but a fable, much like Peter Pan or the Easter Bunny. He never existed. This means that he did not come in the flesh. Yet many people are afraid of being called Antichrist, so they refuse to acknowledge that the so-called historical evidence for the false Christ of Christianity is all fraudulent. For details of this fact, please listen to my teaching entitled, "Jesus Never Existed." That is, Jesus never existed. The article continues with 2 John chapter 1, verse 7. 2 John chapter 1, verse 7 says, "Many deceivers who do not acknowledge Jesus as coming in the flesh have gone out into the world. Any such person is a deceiver and the Antichrist. Do not fall for this deception. The Most High never told us that he would send us a God-man, also known as God in the flesh. The God-man concept comes from the Greeks. Much like the Greeks believe that Hercules is the son of God, the New Testament claims that Jesus is also the son of God. The Greek god Zeus, according to the Greek fable, loves to seduce and impregnate human women. This is how Hercules became a God-man, aka God in the flesh. This is also how the fictional Jesus character became God in the flesh. As the story goes, a virgin was impregnated by a ghost, and out popped Jesus, God in the flesh, just like magic. This is an abomination, and this is why the righteous remnant of Israel refuses to acknowledge any God-man, whether it be Jesus, Hercules, or any other pagan idol. Question number 2. Who is the Antichrist according to the Holy Scriptures, which Christians call the Old Testament? There are many Christs in the Holy Scriptures, but only one was handpicked by the Most High to rule over the coming kingdom. This is King David. Psalm chapter 2, verses 1 to 2 and 6 to 9 explains this. I will read Psalm chapter 2, verses 1 to 2 and verses 6 to 9. It says, "Wherefore did the heathen rage, and the nations imagine vain things? The kings of the earth stood up, and the rulers gathered themselves together against the Lord," that's the Most High God, "and against his Christ, his Messiah, his anointed." King David is saying that the kings of the earth and the rulers came against the Most High and against him, King David. He is referring to himself as the Christ. He is the one that was anointed by the Most High to rule over the coming kingdom. Verse 6, but I is first person singular, which tells us that King David, the Christ, is speaking about himself. He said that the heathen rage, the kings, the rulers, come against the Most High and his Christ, King David. But I, his Christ, have been made king by him on Zion, his holy mountain. So no matter how much the heathen rage, no matter how much the kings of the earth and the rulers come against the Most High and his Christ, they cannot change the fact that the Most High handpicked King David to rule over his coming kingdom. Verse 7, declaring the ordinance of the Lord said to me, first person singular, King David, the Christ, is speaking about himself. This is what the Most High said to King David. Thou art my son. Today have I begotten thee. This is where the Christians ripped off this idea and put it in John 3:16, where they refer to the false god and idol of Christianity as the only begotten Son of God. But the Most High said to King David, thou, King David, the Christ, the one that I handpicked to rule over my kingdom, thou art my son. Today have I begotten thee. Ask of me, and I will give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the ends of the earth for thy possession. Why? King David is going to rule over the heathen. He is going to rule over the entire earth. Verse 9, thou shalt, not thou may, not maybe, perhaps. It says thou shalt, which means that you will rule them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces as a potter's vessel. King David is the Christ or Messiah, and those who deny this are antichrists. In the New World Encyclopedia, under the same heading, Antichrist, quote 3 says this: Antichrist is translated from the combination of two Greek words, which means anti or opposite of, and anointed, therefore opposite of Christ. The word anti can also be translated as if, and thus Antichrist can also mean someone who pretends to be a Messiah. So someone who's not a Messiah but pretends to be a Messiah. In my teaching entitled, Is Jesus Really the Messiah? That is Jesus really the Messiah? I carefully describe the requirements for someone to be a Messiah. The Messiah must be anointed with holy oil and set apart for the service of the Most High. Even in the piece of fiction called the New Testament, Jesus was never anointed with holy oil and set apart for the service of the Most High. This means that he was never the Messiah. He was never the Christ. He simply assumed the name Christ and pretended to be a Messiah. This makes him the Antichrist. In conclusion, there are many Christs or anointed ones in the Holy Scriptures. Every priest, prophet, and king was a Christ. However, only one was chosen to rule the coming kingdom. This is King David, the Christ. In the same way, there are many antichrists, those who oppose and deny King David, the true Christ, are all antichrists. But the Antichrist, meaning the one who pretends to be a Messiah, is none other than Jesus, the false god and idol of Christianity. I pray that the righteous remnant of Israel would reject the brainwashing of our Christian slave masters and the piece of rubbish they call the New Testament. Christians are all antichrists because they reject King David as the true Christ that was handpicked by the Most High to rule the coming kingdom, and instead they choose to follow and worship Jesus, the Antichrist, which is the one who pretends to be the Messiah, although he was never anointed for that purpose. And with that I say, Shalom.